Have you ever wondered why, no matter how kind, hardworking, or well-intentioned you are, people still don't respect you? Some of the habits quietly sabotaging your self-worth don't scream for attention, they whisper. But over time, they destroy how others perceive you. Respect is never something you chase. It's not a prize to be begged for. It's the natural result of how you live, how you carry yourself, and the silent choices you make every day. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't lose respect because of one big mistake, you lose it slowly. Through daily patterns that chip away at your credibility, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. And that's the most dangerous part, because until you identify these patterns, you'll keep wondering why people overlook you, undervalue you, or walk all over you while you're doing your best. In this video, we're going to break down 8 toxic habits that quietly kill the respect others have for you, often without you even realizing it. But if you're willing to confront them, if you're bold enough to change, you won't need to ask for respect ever again. You'll become someone who naturally commands it. Let's start with the first habit. 1. Always making excuses. Stop giving away your power. Let's be brutally honest here. Making excuses doesn't protect your image. It destroys it. Every time you make an excuse, what you're really saying is, I'm not in control of my life. And there's nothing more unattractive, more respect-killing, than someone who constantly deflects responsibility. You can dress it up however you want. Blame the traffic. Blame your boss. Blame bad luck, but people see right through it. Excuses don't make you look smart or justified. They make you look unreliable, weak, and afraid to own up. I know this not from a book, not from theory, but from my own painful experience. There was a time in my life when I was the master of excuses. If I was late, it was the bus. If I missed a deadline, it was because someone didn't send me what I needed. I always had a reason to explain away failure, a reason to avoid responsibility. But you know what I didn't have? Respect. Not from my friends, not from my colleagues, not even from myself. You see, people don't care why you didn't show up on time. They don't care why something didn't work out. They only care whether you did what you said you would do. And when you don't, no amount of clever justification can earn back their trust. I learned that lesson the hard way. After missing yet another commitment, I casually threw out the same tired excuse, "Yeah, sorry, traffic was insane." That's when someone looked me dead in the eye and asked, "Why didn't you just leave earlier?" That question punched me in the gut. I had no answer, and that silence revealed everything. Because the truth is, excuses aren't just about protecting your ego. They're about avoiding the hard truth, that you're not holding yourself accountable. Every excuse you make chips away at your credibility, and the more you rely on them, the more people begin to expect failure from you. They stop trusting your word. They stop depending on you. Eventually, they stop including you altogether, because they've already written you off as someone who can't be counted on. Here's the deeper message you need to hear. Excuses are a trap. They keep you locked in a victim mindset where nothing is ever your fault, and because nothing is your fault, nothing is ever within your control. And when you lose your sense of control, you lose the power to change. That's the worst part. Excuses may feel safe in the moment, but they rob you of growth. They strip away your ability to rise, to improve, to earn real respect, because nobody respects someone who hides from their own reflection. Respect begins the moment you stop running and start owning. I'm not saying you'll be perfect. You'll mess up, you'll miss deadlines, you'll fall short, but when you do, own it. Say, "That's on me. I should have managed my time better. I'll fix it." That level of ownership doesn't make you look weak, it makes you powerful. It shows maturity, it shows leadership, and more importantly, it shows the world that you're in control of your own life. Here's something I want you to think about. People forgive mistakes, but they rarely forgive excuses. There's something inherently respectable about someone who can admit their flaws without blaming the world. When you take responsibility, even when it hurts, people feel safe around you. They trust you, because you're not hiding, you're not pretending, you're choosing to lead yourself, and that's a quality every strong person gravitates toward. I remember a moment that changed everything for me. I had just messed up a group project, missed a few key deadlines, didn't communicate properly. The old me would have blamed the chaos of the week, or how the team didn't give clear direction. But this time, I did something different. I walked in, looked at everyone, and said, "I dropped the ball. I wasn't organized enough, and I take full responsibility for that. I'm fixing it now." And you know what happened? No one got angry. In fact, one person said, "Thanks for owning that. Let's move forward." And from that day, something shifted. They started trusting me more, not because I got everything right, but because I stopped pretending I did. That's the quiet power of accountability. It earns you something no excuse ever will: respect. Not the kind you demand, not the kind you beg for, but the kind people give willingly when they see strength in your honesty. When you stop deflecting and start accepting, you show the world that you're not afraid of the truth. And that makes you rare. That makes you magnetic. If you've been living in excuse mode, it's not too late, but you have to decide, right here, right now, that you're done handing away your power. You're done letting traffic, people, or circumstances write your story. You are the author. The moment you accept full responsibility for your life, you reclaim control, and with that control comes undeniable respect. So the next time you're tempted to explain away a mistake, don't. Pause, own it, and move forward with strength. The world doesn't respect perfection. It respects responsibility. Be the person who doesn't make excuses. Be the person who shows up, stands up, and never runs from the truth. That's where respect begins, and that's where your transformation starts. 2. Being lazy, the silent killer of respect. Let's not sugarcoat it. Laziness is a self-inflicted wound, a quiet killer of your potential, and one of the quickest ways to lose the respect of others. You can be brilliant, talented, full of ambition and dreams, but if you constantly choose comfort over action, you're choosing to waste it all. People don't respect what could be, they respect what you do. And if you're not doing anything, they won't care how much potential you claim to have. I used to believe potential was enough. I'd hear things like, "You're really gifted," or "You could do amazing things." And I let those compliments feed my ego while my discipline starved to death. I was addicted to the idea of success, but allergic to the process. I thought my natural ability would carry me, that I could get by doing the bare minimum, and still be celebrated. What a lie. No one respects someone who won't put in the work. They might envy your talent for a moment, but they will always lose respect for you when they see you wasting it. And the truth is, laziness doesn't hide. It shows. It shows in your eyes when you're unmotivated. It shows in your posture when you avoid hard work. It shows in your words when everything is later or tomorrow. People pick up on it. They start to realize you're someone who takes shortcuts, avoids pressure, and crumbles at the thought of real effort. That realization slowly kills trust. Why? Because no one trusts someone who won't show up fully. There was a time when I was part of a team project. Everyone pulled their weight, pushed through the deadlines, stayed late. Meanwhile, I coasted, just enough to say I contributed. But when it came time to present, the gaps were obvious. Their work was detailed, mine was sloppy. Their tone was confident, mine was nervous. I remember the looks, not angry, just disappointed. That kind of disappointment cuts deep. Because it's not about one project, it's about character. They didn't just lose respect for my work, they lost respect for me. That's the thing. Laziness isn't just a habit, it's a statement. It says, I don't believe I'm worth the effort. And the moment you say that to the world agrees. Respect doesn't follow the path of least resistance. It follows the person who gets up early, who stays late, who pushes when others pause. The one who doesn't wait for motivation, but shows up anyway. That's who people admire. That's who they trust. But let's take it deeper. Why do we choose laziness in the first place? Sometimes, it's not about being tired, it's about being scared. Scared of failure. Scared of responsibility. Scared of what happens if we really try and it's still not enough. Laziness becomes our escape, our armor, our excuse. If we don't try, we can't fail. If we don't step up, no one can judge us. But here's the real danger. While you're sitting still trying to protect your pride, life is moving forward, and people are watching. And they're making silent decisions about your character. Laziness is a choice you make again and again, and every time. It tells the world you'd rather stay comfortable than grow. It tells your team you won't carry your share. It tells your dreams they're not urgent. And it tells your future self, I gave up on you. That's heavy. That's real. And that's what I had to confront. I wasn't tired. I was afraid. I didn't lack time. I lacked the courage to act with consistency. And once I understood that, everything began to shift. I started waking up earlier. Not because I felt inspired, but because I didn't want to live one more day disrespecting my own potential. I said yes to hard work, even when it scared me. I stopped hiding behind, I'm just not motivated today, and started living like someone who deserved to be respected. And you know what? People noticed, not because I was suddenly perfect, but because I was present, reliable, awake, alive. If you want to be respected, you have to start respecting your own time, your own mind, your own abilities. Don't wait for some magical surge of inspiration. It's not coming. What's coming is the future, and you decide whether it meets someone prepared or someone still sleeping on their potential. People remember the ones who grind when no one's watching. They admire the ones who work when it's boring, inconvenient, uncomfortable. That's where respect is earned, not in your promises, but in your patterns. So ask yourself, are you just dreaming? Or are you doing? Are you hoping to be respected one day? Or are you showing up like someone who demands it through action? Because laziness will cost you more than missed deadlines or lost opportunities. It will cost you your name, your influence, and your future. You want to stand out? Outwork your excuses. Outlast your fears. Outperform your past. Be someone who moves when others stall. Who creates when others complain. That's the kind of person people respect, and deep down, that's who you're capable of becoming. 3. Neglecting your personal appearance, the unspoken language of self-respect. Let's get something straight. How you present yourself to the world is a direct reflection of how much you respect yourself. You may not say a word, but your appearance speaks volumes before you even open your mouth. And if that message says, "I don't care," then don't be surprised when the world reflects that energy right back at you. This isn't about vanity. It's about value. It's about the silent signals you're sending every day, and whether those signals earn you admiration or get you overlooked. I used to think that people should see past how I looked. That if they really knew me, they'd see the real me, the kind, smart, deep thinker underneath the wrinkled hoodie and messy hair. I called it authenticity, but truthfully, it was laziness wearing a mask. And I paid the price for it. I'd walk into rooms and instantly feel invisible. I'd speak, and no one really listened. Not because I wasn't saying something worth hearing, but because I didn't look like someone worth noticing. That's the harsh truth nobody tells you. If you show up like you don't take yourself seriously, no one else will either. Respect doesn't wait to discover your potential. It responds to presence. And your presence begins with how you show up, physically, mentally, emotionally. When your appearance is chaotic, it signals that your life might be. 2. It suggests a lack of discipline, a lack of care, a lack of self-worth. People pick up on that, instantly. They may not say it, but they feel it, and they treat you accordingly. There was a moment that changed everything for me. I walked into an important meeting, hair unkempt, shirt wrinkled, shoes barely presentable. I thought the ideas in my head would carry me. But the energy in the room shifted the second I stepped in. People avoided eye contact. No one asked for my input. I felt small, not because they were rude, but because I had shown up in a way that told them I didn't value the space, or myself. That sting was enough to wake me up. Here's the deeper truth. Personal appearance isn't just about what others see. It's about what you feel. When you dress with intention, when you take time to look clean, sharp, put together, you move differently. You speak with more confidence. You carry yourself like someone who has standards. And that energy is magnetic. People notice, not just what you're wearing, but the energy that comes from self-respect. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about wearing designer clothes or impressing others. This is about effort, clean clothes, groomed hair, a posture that says, "I'm here and I matter." You don't need perfection. You need pride. The pride to say, "I respect myself enough to show up at my best, even when no one's watching." That's the kind of mindset that commands respect wherever you go. Think of the most respected people you know. They don't just talk with clarity or think with depth, they show up with presence. Their appearance aligns with their ambition, and that alignment sends a message. I don't just care about what I do, I care about how I do it. That's power. That's intention. That's leadership. Neglecting your appearance is often a reflection of how you're feeling inside. If you're constantly telling yourself, It doesn't matter. Ask yourself, why doesn't it matter? Are you tired? Are you burned out? Are you doubting your worth? The way you dress can reveal the state of your self-belief. And sometimes, simply choosing to show up well can reignite that belief. It can be the spark that reminds you, I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be heard. And let's be honest, in a world that judges fast, first impressions count. Whether it's a job interview, a date, a presentation, or a chance encounter, people form conclusions before you say a word. That's not unfair. That's human nature. Your appearance is your first handshake. It's the unspoken resume you carry with you everywhere. And if it says, I didn't care, people won't care either. They'll tune out, walk past, overlook. But when you walk into a room polished, purposeful, and proud, everything shifts. Eyes turn, conversations start, opportunities open, not because you're flashy, but because you're intentional. And that's rare. That's unforgettable. I'm telling you this because I've lived both sides. I've been the guy who blended into the background, hoping my words would do the work. And I've also been the one who took time to prepare, to look sharp, to step in like I belonged, and the respect that followed was undeniable. Not because I changed who I was, but because I started honoring who I had always been. Taking care of your appearance is one of the simplest, most immediate ways to build self-respect and invite others to do the same. It doesn't require money, just mindfulness. It doesn't require vanity, just vision. And once you adopt that mindset, the world around you responds. People will listen more closely, treat you more seriously, include you more readily, not because you forced them to, but because you earned it through presence and consistency. Respect starts before you speak. Before you act, before you prove anything, it starts the moment you walk into the room, and your appearance is what introduces you. Don't let it say something you don't believe. Show up like someone who values themselves. Because when you do, others will too. 4. Ignoring boundaries. How to lose respect without saying a word. If there's one invisible line that determines whether people respect you or avoid you, it's this: boundaries. And the moment you ignore someone's boundaries, whether intentionally or carelessly, you start to lose something far more valuable than approval. You lose their trust. You lose their safety. You lose the silent foundation on which real respect is built. Because contrary to what many believe, being a good person isn't just about being nice, helpful, or present. It's about knowing when to pull back. I used to think I was just caring. I believed that checking in all the time, giving constant advice, offering help before being asked, those were signs of loyalty. I didn't realize I was suffocating people. I confused involvement with connection. I didn't see that sometimes the most respectful thing you can do is step back. There was someone in my life I was incredibly close to. We used to talk every day about everything. But slowly, she began creating space. At first, I didn't notice, but then I started over-texting, calling, trying to stay connected like before. One day, she finally said, I need some distance. I don't feel like you hear me when I say that. And that hit me hard. I wasn't being loving. I was being overbearing. I had mistaken my need to feel close for permission to ignore her boundaries. And once I crossed that line, the dynamic changed forever. That respect I once had, it faded. That's the thing. Boundaries are not walls. They're not rejection. They're a form of emotional safety. When someone sets a boundary, they're not pushing you away. They're inviting you to engage in a healthier way. And if you ignore that invitation, they'll stop inviting you altogether. Whether it's a friend, a partner, a coworker, or a family member, everyone has a right to their personal space, their emotional rhythm, and their preferences. Disregarding those rights isn't just inconsiderate, it's disrespectful. Respect means recognizing that other people have their own needs, timelines, values, and sensitivities. It's understanding that your urgency is not their emergency. Your opinions are not their truth. Your desire for connection doesn't override their need for space. When you honor that, even when it's inconvenient, you build trust. You show people that they are safe to be themselves around you. That's rare, and people deeply respect those who make them feel safe. Ignoring boundaries doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes, it's subtle. Pressuring someone to talk when they're not ready. Interrupting when they ask for quiet. Asking deeply personal questions after they've already shown discomfort. These moments may seem small, but they accumulate. Over time, they send one loud message: my needs matter more than yours. And nothing destroys respect faster than that dynamic. In the workplace, this behavior shows up too. Hovering over someone's task, sending messages at all hours, pushing for feedback when they clearly need space. It's not just inefficient, it's disrespectful. You might think you're being proactive, but others see it as a lack of boundaries and a lack of awareness. And that perception can isolate you, because people don't want to work with someone they feel they have to defend themselves from. There's a deeper layer to all of this. When you ignore boundaries, what you're really saying is, I don't believe you're in charge of your own life. You unintentionally step into the role of controller, the one who knows better, pushes harder, and listens less. That may not be your intention, but it's the impact, and the impact is what shapes people's respect for you. Always. Some people think stepping back means giving up, but it's actually a powerful move. It says, I trust you, I respect your pace, I honor your process. That kind of restraint takes maturity. It takes emotional intelligence. It takes strength. Because let's be honest, it's not easy to pull back when you care. It's not easy to stay silent when you believe you're right. But if you truly want respect, then you have to let people be who they are, without trying to fix them, control them, or rush their journey. Once I started practicing this, everything changed. Relationships that had tension began to heal. Conversations became more open. People started coming to me, not because I demanded it, but because I created space for it. That's the paradox of boundaries. The more you respect them, the more connection you build. People lean into those who give them breathing room, not those who crowd them. They trust those who don't take their no personally, who accept silence without guilt, who stay present without pressure. Respect isn't loud, it's not forceful, it's quiet, steady, and rooted in deep emotional awareness. It's shown when you don't respond with offense when someone sets a limit, when you don't demand explanations for every decision, when you don't take it upon yourself to push past discomfort for your own validation. If you're someone who's struggled with this, you're not alone. We're not taught how to read emotional signals. We're not trained in restraint. But this is your moment to shift, to stop seeing boundaries as rejection and start seeing them as bridges, bridges to healthier, deeper, more respectful connections. People will remember how you made them feel. Not what you said, not what you did, but whether they felt heard, honored, and safe in your presence. Respect begins there, and when you can master the art of honoring others' boundaries, you'll not only be more respected, you'll become the kind of person people feel drawn to without even knowing why. 5. Taking credit for others' work, the fastest way to destroy respect. Let's cut through the noise. Few things will destroy your credibility faster than stealing someone else's spotlight. It doesn't matter how subtly you do it, how carefully you frame it, or how small the contribution seems. When you take credit for someone else's effort, you're not elevating yourself. You're exposing your insecurity. You're telling the world, I don't believe I can succeed on my own merits. And that message is impossible to hide for long. People always find out, and once they do, the damage is done. I know this truth personally. Early in my career, I was desperate to prove myself. I wanted recognition. I wanted to be seen as impressive. So when a team project went well, I took more credit than I deserved. I didn't lie. Exactly, I just emphasized my role and downplayed the efforts of others. It felt harmless in the moment, but what I didn't see was the quiet storm I had created. Word got around. The colleague whose work I downplayed found out. And slowly, respect evaporated. People began keeping their distance. Not because I failed to deliver, but because I had shown them I couldn't be trusted to share success. That's what taking credit really reveals. Not brilliance, not leadership, but fear. Fear that you're not enough on your own. Fear that if others shine, your light will fade. But here's the truth that mature, respected people understand. Real confidence doesn't shrink in the presence of others. It expands with them. Real leaders don't hog recognition. They elevate those around them. Because they know that when the team wins, everyone wins, and the person who lifts others up is remembered far longer than the one who clutches the credit. When you steal someone's credit, you're not just stealing recognition. You're stealing their voice, their moment, their dignity. Imagine pouring your heart into something, staying late, stressing over details, carrying the weight, only for someone else to swoop in and present it as their own. That betrayal cuts deep. It leaves scars, and long after the applause fades, the resentment lingers, because respect is built on fairness, and fairness dies the moment you grab something you didn't earn. And make no mistake, people are paying attention, even if no one calls you out immediately. They see who contributes, they see who speaks with humility, and they absolutely see who conveniently forgets to mention the team behind the scenes. Over time, those subtle impressions become your reputation. You may think you're getting ahead, but you're actually burning bridges in silence. And one day, you'll look around and realize no one wants to work with you, follow you, or trust you, because they've already seen what happens when the spotlight shines. Now let's flip the script. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who have real influence. Not the loudest, but the most respected. What do they all have in common? They're generous with credit. They highlight the talents of others. They don't need to prove they're the smartest in the room. They let results speak. And they bring others with them. That's real strength. That's character. And that's the kind of energy that earns lasting respect. When you share success, something powerful happens. You show that you're secure in your own worth. that you don't need to diminish others to feel valuable. You become someone people want to follow. Not out of fear or obligation, but out of trust. Out of admiration. Because lifting others isn't weakness, it's rare. And rare is respected. There was a turning point for me. After being called out for taking more credit than I deserved, I made a promise to never let ego get in the way again. The next time I worked on a team project, I went out of my way to shine a light on every person who contributed. During the presentation, I said, "This part was all Sarah. She handled every detail flawlessly. And the design? That was James. His creativity brought it to life." I didn't expect applause, but what I received instead was something deeper: trust. People saw I was confident enough to lift others without dimming my own light. And that changed everything. Here's what you have to understand: your legacy isn't built by hoarding success. It's built by how many people succeed because of you. That's what earns respect. Not perfection, not performance, but integrity. And integrity means giving credit where it's due, even when it means stepping out of the spotlight. If you've been guilty of this, if you've taken more recognition than you earned, don't run from it. Own it. Go back. Acknowledge the people who helped you. Speak their names. Apologize if you must. It won't make you look weak. It will make you human. And humans who own their missteps are far more respected than those who pretend to be flawless. You don't need to take credit to be seen. You need to be real to be remembered. Lift others. Celebrate them. Trust that your light will never go out by helping someone else shine. That's how you build respect that doesn't fade, because it's built on truth, on character, on leadership that's bigger than ego. 6. Being emotionally reactive. How losing control destroys respect. You may think raising your voice makes you look strong. That snapping back shows you won't be pushed around. That wearing your emotions on your sleeve is proof you're just being real. But here's the hard truth: emotional reactivity doesn't signal strength. It reveals instability. And no one, absolutely no one, respects someone who can't control themselves when things get messy. I used to be that person. The one who'd get defensive at the slightest critique. Who'd blow up over small frustrations. Who wore their reactions like armor, thinking they were a sign of passion. But really, all I was showing the world was that I wasn't grounded. That I was easy to provoke. That I couldn't handle pressure without cracking. And people noticed. They may not have said it out loud, but I could feel it: the discomfort, the distance, the subtle withdrawal of trust. Because the truth is, people don't trust someone who might explode at any moment. Emotional reactivity doesn't just damage your relationships. It chips away at your reputation. When people have to walk on eggshells around you, they don't feel safe. They don't open up. They don't confide in you, challenge you, or involve you in things that require calm judgment. They start to see you as unpredictable. And that perception is a death sentence to respect. You see, the most respected people in any room aren't the loudest. They're not the ones throwing tantrums or making scenes. They're the ones who remain steady while everyone else panics. They hold the space. They slow down the chaos. They listen, breathe, and respond, instead of react. And that kind of emotional composure is rare, because it requires one thing most people never master: self-control. When you let emotions run your mouth, you give away power. You let the situation own you. Whether it's anger, jealousy, shame, or fear, when you let it dictate your behavior. You become a puppet of the moment, and people lose faith in your leadership. Because real leadership, whether in your career, your family, or your friendships, demands the ability to navigate stress without breaking character. I'll never forget the time I lost it on a coworker in front of the whole team. I was frustrated, overwhelmed, and felt disrespected, but instead of stepping back and processing, I unleashed words sharp enough to cut, tone laced with tension, eyes filled with heat. For a moment, it felt satisfying, like I had stood my ground. But the looks in that room? I wasn't seen as strong. I was seen as volatile. And from that day on, people treated me differently, not with fear, but with caution. And behind caution, there's no real respect, only distance. What I had to learn, and what Stoic philosophy teaches, is that your response is your responsibility. You can't always control what happens, but you always control how you respond. And that gap, between stimulus and reaction, is where your power lives. Lose that, and you lose yourself. Protect it, and you gain everything: peace, clarity, and the deep respect of those around you. Here's the deeper truth. Emotional reactivity is often a mask for deeper wounds. We lash out because we feel insecure, threatened, or unseen. We react because we want to defend our ego or hide our fear. But when we explode, what we're really saying is, I haven't yet mastered myself. That's not power. That's fragility in disguise. And people aren't inspired by fragility. They're drawn to resilience, to those who can take a blow, absorb it, and still speak with calm. Who can hear criticism without collapsing? Who can face pressure without lashing out? That's emotional maturity. That's inner strength. And that's where respect is born. I started practicing emotional control like a daily discipline. Not by suppressing how I felt, but by giving myself a moment to breathe. A few seconds to pause. To ask, what outcome do I really want from this moment? Do I want to win an argument? Or preserve a relationship? Do I want to be heard? Or do I want to be right? That pause saved me countless mistakes. And over time, it rewired me into someone others could count on to stay composed under fire. And the shift was noticeable. People began to trust my presence. They'd turn to me during tense situations, ask my perspective, invite me into decisions, not because I was the smartest, but because I had earned their respect through stability. That's the reward of self-control. Not silence, not avoidance, but presence that doesn't crumble when tested. If you're someone who's been emotionally reactive, you already know the damage it causes. The apologies you've had to give, the relationships that grew cold, the regrets that echo long after the outburst ends. But here's the good news: self-control is a skill. You can train it, you can reclaim your reactions. You can become the kind of person who no longer reacts from emotion, but responds with wisdom. That's power. That's growth. That's what earns respect in the eyes of the world. Don't fall for the myth that intensity equals strength. It doesn't. The ones who lose their temper are easy to predict and easier to control. The ones who stay composed are the ones no one dares to underestimate. And when you learn to master yourself, no chaos can shake you, and no disrespect can reach you. That's the kind of presence that walks into a room and shifts the energy, not by noise, but by silence rooted in power. 7. Apologizing for who you are. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. There's a quiet habit that goes unnoticed by most, yet it slowly chips away at your self-worth. It's not loud, it's not destructive on the surface, but it's deadly. It's the habit of apologizing for who you are, not because you've done something wrong, but because you dare to be real, honest, and different. And let me tell you something. You will never earn true respect by constantly shrinking yourself just to make others feel more comfortable. I used to be that person, always softening my voice, second-guessing my words, backtracking on my opinions the moment I saw discomfort in someone's eyes. I'd start sentences with, "sorry." But even when I had nothing to be sorry for, I thought I was being kind. I thought I was keeping the peace. But what I was really doing was slowly telling the world, and myself, that I didn't deserve to take up space. That my voice was optional. That who I truly was needed to be edited for approval. The truth is, when you apologize for your existence, you're giving people permission to ignore it. You're showing them that you don't see value in your own presence, and people mirror what you model. If you act like you don't belong, they'll believe you. If you speak like your words are a burden, they'll treat them that way. You're not just teaching people how to treat you. You're instructing them on whether you're worth listening to. But here's what they don't tell you. Authenticity is not the problem. Your realness, your truth, your unique energy, that's your power. That's your magnetism. And if someone gets uncomfortable when you show up as yourself, that's not a signal for you to change. That's a signal that they were never meant to hold space for your truth in the first place. We've been conditioned to apologize for being too much, or not enough, or simply different, for being introverted, or bold, or spiritual, or sensitive, for being driven, for not fitting into someone else's mold. But why? Why should your existence need to be softened to fit the comfort zone of others? Why should you dilute your truth to match someone else's expectations? The Stoics believed that your worth doesn't depend on anyone's opinion, that no external validation defines you, only your own alignment with what is true and virtuous. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But what he didn't say, and what we must remember, is this: if it is true, if it is right, if it is who you really are, then own it with everything you've got. Respect is never given to those who constantly apologize for their identity. It's given to those who stand tall in their truth, even when their voice trembles. It's given to those who can be calm in the face of disapproval, who can smile without explanation, who can walk into a room without feeling the need to justify why they belong there. You don't earn respect by bending yourself into the shape others expect. You earn it by standing firm in the shape you were born with, uncut, unfiltered, unashamed. I remember a moment that changed me. I was in a conversation where I shared an honest opinion, nothing offensive, just different from the group. And immediately, I felt the urge rise up, that familiar, automatic, sorry, about to slip out. But something in me froze. I caught myself, and instead, I simply paused and held my ground. I didn't argue. I didn't over-explain. I just let the silence do its work. And what happened next? Nothing dramatic. Just respect. Just eyes that looked at me a little differently, not because they agreed, but because I didn't crumble under pressure. I didn't retreat. I stood where I stood. That was the beginning of a transformation. I realized that I didn't need to be louder. I just needed to stop apologizing for my presence. I didn't need to fight for attention. I just needed to believe I was enough without trimming my truth down to fit inside someone else's approval box. When you stop apologizing for who you are, you begin to reclaim your dignity. You begin to attract the right kind of people, those who resonate with your energy, not your compliance. You start walking through life without fear of being misunderstood, because the right ones will understand, and the wrong ones no longer matter. Don't confuse humility with self-erasure. Don't mistake politeness for silence. There is nothing respectful about abandoning yourself to please others. True respect starts the moment you stop hiding who you are. And if it shakes a few people, let it. If it makes someone uncomfortable, let it. Because your truth isn't offensive. It's simply real. And the world doesn't need more filtered personalities. It needs more courageous presence. Stop shrinking. Stop saying sorry for the things that make you human. Bold, different, alive. Speak with clarity. Walk with certainty. And live in alignment with who you actually are, not who the world trained you to pretend to be. That's how you earn real respect, not by apologizing for your voice, but by choosing to use it with conviction. 8. Seeking respect instead of earning it. Stop chasing what you should be becoming. The harder you chase respect, the faster it runs from you. That's the brutal paradox. The more you crave validation, applause, and recognition, the more you actually push real respect further away. Because when your actions are fueled by the desire to impress rather than the desire to live with integrity, people can feel it, and they turn away, even if they smile to your face. I've seen it. I've lived it. That need to be liked. That craving to be admired. Walking into rooms, not to contribute, but to impress. Saying what I thought people wanted to hear. Dressing for approval. Working for applause. And on the outside, it looked polished. But deep down, it was exhausting. Because everything I did was a performance. A role I played, hoping someone would hand me that magic reward. Respect. But here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. Respect is never given to performers. It's given to the ones who are real when no one's watching. When you live to be admired, you surrender control. You let the world decide how you dress, what you say, how you move, and even what you believe. Every look, every word, every silence becomes a strategy, not a reflection of truth, but a move in a game that has no finish line. You start molding yourself to fit into spaces that weren't made for you. And then wonder why you feel hollow when you finally arrive. Real respect doesn't work like that. You can't beg for it, buy it, or fake your way into it. It's a byproduct. It follows those who are grounded, steady, principled, those who speak less and live more, those who don't need the spotlight to feel significant, because their sense of worth is rooted in something deeper than public approval. You can spot someone who's chasing respect from a mile away. They overcompensate, they name drop, they exaggerate, they show off, and yet, behind all that flash is usually one thing: fear. Fear of being unseen, fear of being ordinary, fear that who they are isn't enough. And that fear becomes their mask. But no one respects a mask. People respect the courage to take it off. And when you do, everything shifts. Because when you stop trying to be admired, you start becoming someone admirable. You stop talking just to be heard. and start speaking because you have something real to say. You stop dressing to impress, and start carrying yourself with quiet dignity. You stop looking around the room for approval, and start looking inward for alignment. Stoicism teaches this at its core, that the only true control you have in this life is over your character. Not what others think of you, not how they respond, just how you live. And when you start showing up aligned with your values, with honesty, courage, discipline, and humility, respect will follow. Not always loudly, but steadily, quietly, deeply. The people we admire most aren't always the loudest in the room. They don't constantly promote themselves. They don't chase attention. They live in such alignment with their values that respect becomes a natural consequence. You feel it when they walk in. You lean in when they speak. Not because they asked for it, but because they earned it without ever having to. Let's be honest. Some of the most disrespected people in the world are the ones constantly yelling for attention, demanding recognition, forcing admiration, but no one truly respects desperation. What people do respect is consistency, integrity, stillness, the calm presence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because their life already says it for them. And when you begin to live this way, something powerful happens. The right people start gravitating toward you. The kind who don't need you to be perfect, just honest. The kind who value you not for what you achieve, but for who you are when you're not performing. And the best part? You no longer feel like you're begging for respect. You realize you've become someone who commands it without asking. I stopped chasing respect the day I realized I already had everything I needed to be respected. I just had to act like it. I had to stop diluting my values. Stop seeking approval for every decision. Stop playing a version of myself just to fit someone else's narrative. And once I let go of the chase, the respect started arriving, not from everyone, but from the ones who truly mattered. Don't fall into the trap of living your life on display, of turning your every move into a campaign for validation. It's not sustainable, it's not fulfilling, and it's not real. Instead, build a life so grounded in truth, in strength, in quiet character, that even if no one ever applauds you, you can stand tall knowing you lived in alignment. You don't need a standing ovation to be worthy. You don't need a crowd to be powerful. You just need to live like someone who respects themselves, and watch how the world rises to meet you. Conclusion: earned, not demanded. Respect isn't something you beg for. It isn't granted because you speak louder, work harder, or demand more. Respect is something you become worthy of. Through your daily habits, through the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, through your ability to master your emotions, live your values, and stand unapologetically in your truth. Each of the 8 habits we've explored may seem subtle, but they're powerful enough to either elevate your life or quietly ruin how the world perceives you. Making excuses, choosing laziness, ignoring your appearance, disrespecting boundaries, stealing credit, losing emotional control, apologizing for who you are, chasing validation. Every single one of them sends a message. Either I am in control of my life, or I am not yet ready to be respected. But the beauty is, it's in your hands. These aren't flaws you're doomed to carry. They're habits, and habits can be broken, rebuilt, replaced, the moment you decide to let them go, to choose integrity over ego, discipline over comfort, Authenticity over performance, the shift begins. Respect is not something you can demand. It's something you must deserve, through integrity, discipline, and unwavering self-mastery. Eliminate the patterns that quietly pull you downward, and watch how the world rises in how it responds to you. If this message spoke to something deep within you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more content rooted in timeless strength and self-respect. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were always meant to be.